Morning, everyone. This is Owner Williams from the NGFL. A couple of us from the NGFL thought it'd be a good idea to do a stats video since we're about midpoint in the league, just to see how all the teams are standing as far as wins and losses and how our players are doing within the league. First, what we're going to go through is we're going to go through the top 10 teams in the NGFL as well as the ASFL. And then we'll look at the top defenses in the league, top offenses in the league, as well as the player leaders based on their stats relative to their position. Starting off, we have the Chicago Ghosts and the Jackson Crabs as the top teams in the league, or at least the best record in the league. Um, Looking at net points here, we're going to go ahead and say the number one team right now in the NGFL is the Jackson Crabs, just with their points scored and points against record here. Now, from there, we do have the Tokyo Titans, which is on a huge 6-game winning streak. Not to mention Jackson Crabs, not to undermine Jackson Crabs' 7-game winning streak or the Chicago Ghosts winning streak. I don't think a lot of us thought the Tokyo Titans would be where they're at to this day. Smith did a good job building his team and making them contenders early. From there, we have the New York Grizzlies, who's having a stellar season. They are holding their defense is definitely holding their team down, and their offense is definitely putting on points, helping them win games. The Panthers, as you can see, they're up there when it's as far as the record is concerned, but they're in the ASFL, so we'll skip them from now. From there in the NGFL, we have the New Orleans Gamblers. New Orleans Gamblers owner, this is their inaugural season with the NGFL, and for them being top 5 out of the teams that we have in the league, that is definitely an achievement. Moving on from there, we do have the Honolulu Wyverns. Wyverns started out very hot with the injury to Zach Lott, and not much of a replacement for Zach Lott. That hurt them in their past 2 games. They was able to win one of the games without Zach Lott, and their 2-game winning streak is highlighting their game that when Zach Lott came back. From there, in my opinion, this is probably the biggest change that I've seen is we have the Richmond Renegades sitting at 4-4. Past 2 seasons, being that this is the 3rd NGFL season, the Richmond Renegades is normally the top teams in the league. So personally, I'm going to have to look at different ways to make my offense better. As you can see, we don't score a lot of points compared to points scored on us. I have to figure out a way to bolster my defense and score points. From there, we have the Houston Toros. I believe that's owned by Dawson. For his inaugural team, 4-4, that's not bad. If you look at the net points, technically his team is having a better league than the Richmond Renegades. Nice job. Going from there, we have the Sioux Falls Spirits. The Spirits had a very strong start to the season, posting very incredible numbers, being in their inaugural season. Past 2 games, not sure what happened to them there, but they're struggling right now. Hopefully the Spirits can turn it around. From there, we have the Oklahoma City Lightning. The Lightning, this is their inaugural season as well. Pretty pedestrian, not too bad though. They can score some points, but they have to figure out a way to stop teams from scoring on them. From there, we do have the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack, again, had a very, very strong season 2 season. Got all the way into the playoffs. I believe they made it all the way into the conference championship, but fell short. This season is looking like it's boosted with their defense. My point of recommendation for them is booster your offense. Either that or, get a little bit up their talent level a little bit on your defense. But it'll definitely turn around for the Wolfpack. All right, so let's see. All right, so from there, we're going to go into the ASFL. First, we're going to highlight the Michigan Panthers. Michigan Panthers are definitely leading in the ASFL right now. ASFL does have different players that we have that are new Discord players in our league. And we are going to highlight some of those players that we have for the Michigan Panthers. As far as new players, we do have Snowman Ethan Diaz. I think he's changed his name since then, but he is on the Michigan Panthers. And as far as the new players, we have Oscar Gonzalez, who has not suited up for them yet, but he is ready to go for their Week 9 game. And that is everybody that we have as far as new players on the Michigan Panthers. They're just looking through everyone we have. We have players from the Chicago Ghosts, as well as players from the Sioux Falls Spirits. So they're definitely a well-built team amongst of other teams with talented players. From there, we have the Atlanta Aviators. Right now, that's being led by Jamie Spencer. He is doing an awesome job, bringing a lot of points with his team. As you can see, they score over their games, 8 games, 135 points to team scoring 92 points in them, netting them a difference of positive 43 points. So they're doing an awesome job there. From there, we have the Memphis Gators. They're at a 5-3 record, tied with the Aviators and the Panthers, as well as the New Mexico Stampede. They're at 5-3 as well. From there, we're jumping down to the Angels at 3-3. 3-2, excuse me. 2 games ended in a tie for them. And then from there, we have the Bulldogs. And then finishing up everything, we have the Houston Wildcats in last place for the ASFL. Good thing about the ASFL is always changing. Teams can be completely different from years to years. So that gives the owners of the ASFL teams an opportunity to have a completely different team than last season and turn their season on, or turn their next season on their head based on the talent level. From there, we are going to go into, let's see here. Let's look into the top teams in the league. All right, so if we look at the total offense, we have the Crabs leading in number 1 in total offense at 374 points a game. As far as passing teams, we have the Rapid City Falcons, owned by Coach Brown, leading in passing yards. In rushing yards, this actually has changed over the past couple of weeks because I believe it was leading by the Jackson Crabs, but owner Smith's Tokyo Titans. Smith's son, Baby Goat, has been holding it down for the Titans, which is helping them get into their 6-2 record. Hopefully they can keep it up and keep this momentum of their 6-game winning streak going into the postseason. Team with the number 1 passing defense, which is the opposite side, the defense, total defensive yards scored on them is the Rapid City Falcons. The Rapid City Falcons is last in the league in total defense. Defense can move the ball on them. As far as passing yards allowed, the highest for passing yards allowed would be the Oklahoma City Lightning. And it makes sense on why the Falcons are where they're at. They have the worst rushing defense in the league. So going from there, let's look at some player stats. For passing completion percentage, we have Jared Townsend for the ASFL leading with 76%. From there, we have the New Orleans Gamblers, Brad Sorensen leading in top of the NGFL with 71% of passes being completed. Right now, number one quarterback with passing yards is Hugo Zachary of the Rapid City Falcons. From there, in second place, we have Travis Matthews from the Jackson Crabs. Number one quarterback with passing defense. It looks like it might be a repeat for Hugo Zachary. Right now, he's leading the league with a staggering 21 touchdowns. Travis Matthews is not far behind with 19. Passing interceptions. That award that you don't want is going to go to Jalen Hurts right now. He is leading the league with 17 interceptions. Let's look at some rushing stats. This is for quarterback. Let's change it to running back. Leading the league with rushing attempts is the Jackson Crabs, Akaiji Obudwale. He is, I know I said the name wrong, but he is actually leading the league for the most rushing attempts in the NGFL with a total of 235. From there, leading for an ASFL team, we have, he hasn't suited up yet, so we'll skip him. So leading for the NGFL, we have Fred McDaniel for a total of 117 rushing attempts. Leading the league with rushing yards, as we can already see, is Baby Goat Cade Smith from the Tokyo Titans with 1,114 yards rushing, which is impressive, being that it's going into the 9th week of the season. Following from there, we have Jaga Bettis from the Houston Toros with 1,019 yards, which is impressive because we're not sure how long Jaga Bettis has been injured. He is actually probable for the next 8 weeks. So unless he's been toughing it out and playing in the game, that's actually pretty commendable numbers if he's been out for an extended period of time and still holding it down with the leading the league in rushing. From there, let's go to rushing touchdowns. Baby Goat again. He's definitely making his case to be the working for MVP. If I had my pick right now, it'll probably be Hugo Zachary from the Rapid City Falcons, especially with the season that they're having this year. But looking at the rushing touchdowns for Baby Goat, he is leading the league with 11, with the running back from the Jackson Crabs right behind him with 8. All right, so let's look at some receiving yards. No, actually, we'll go. Let's find who's leading in rushing yards for. Let's see rushing touchdowns for the ASFL, shall we? For the ASFL, we have Noah Catch leading for the Bulldogs with a total of 3 rushing touchdowns. Followed very closely is Vic Richardson from the Memphis Gators with 3 touchdowns as well. Let's look at receptions. The lead in the league in receptions makes sense on why the Crabs has the number 1 offense. We have Rashad Randall leading the lead with 64 receptions, following in with 894 receiving yards. Very close second with 1 reception off is Buchanan Simmons for the Indianapolis Cyclones. He has 63 receptions with 739 receiving yards for the year. All right, moving on. Rashad Randall, he's definitely leading the league in receiving. Marquez Vick, I would say he was the MVP of the Wolf Pack last season. As a rookie, standed out, in my opinion, probably from all the rookies. I believe he won the Rookie of the Year. No, he runnered up the running back from the Jackson Crabs. I do apologize, but he was definitely in the running. He is currently with 61 receiving yards with 853 yards receiving. If we're looking at the ASFL players, we do have Rashid Mohanan from the Bulldogs. Very impressive, 667 yards receiving. And further down, we have Demetrius George from the Atlanta Aviators with 589 receiving yards. He's been in the ASFL for 2 seasons, last year and this season. I think it's time for someone to give him a call up and give him an opportunity to show his talents off in the NGFL. All right, from there, leading the league in receiving touchdowns, who do you know? We have Rashad Randall for the Jackson Crabs. Receiving touchdowns, he has a total of 11. Randall has a pretty good distance on the next receiver with Jefferson Fitzgerald for the New York Grizzlies, who's not a slouch. He is definitely a good receiver, but he is sitting at with 7 receiving touchdowns at this particular time. All right, let's look at some defensive leaders here. Leading the pack. Oh, and he's leading both ASFL and NGFL. Someone give this man a contract. We have Gerald Frederick for the Bulldogs that is leading the league out of all the teams in tackles. Number 1 defensive tackle player is Dave Willingham for the Chicago Ghosts, sitting at a total of 61 tackles. And then from there, next ASFL player we have is Sidney Wilson for the Stampede, sitting at a nice 69 tackles for the season. From there, we have Tyler Dawson with the Lumberjacks with 54. And then going back into the NGFL, we have Ted Grady and Dada Osakwe with 53 tackles each. All right, let's look at some sack numbers. Shelby Woosley, we've seen him, Junior. We've seen his name a couple of times at the end of games. He's leading the league with a very good margin of 17.5 sacks, with the next person being LaQuindrez Freeman from the Rapid City Falcons with a total of 14.5 sacks. From there, we have Chris Colin from the Grizzlies with 14 sacks. Oscar Pride with the Titans with 13 sacks. And then we're going into the NGFL. Bradford Soto, and I do not believe he is a star player. He is having a very awesome season with 12.5 sacks going into the year. From there, looking for another ASFL player, we have Charles Robinson for the Gators with the second leader. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely passed Joey Johnson. Joey Johnson for the ASFL. He has 10.5 sacks going into the season. Awesome job there. Let's look at the interception numbers. Crabs again. What do you know? They're number 1 team in the league. They got the players to back it up. We have Jackson Bell leading the season with 6 interceptions for the Jackson Crabs. From there with the Lancers, definitely their best player on the team, Kurt McDuffie, with 6 interceptions. And then Ty Sanders from the Houston Toros, he has 6 interceptions as well. And then we have Solomon Hurts from the Sioux Falls Spirits with 5 interceptions also. But Tom Hampton from the Stampede, not a star player, but he is actually leading the ASFL with interceptions with a total of 5. From there, looking at ASFL players, we have Eric Hayworth, who was recently acquired by the Chicago Ghosts via the Richmond Renegades. He is actually a second in the NGFL with 4 total interceptions. Following up with one more player, we have Amon Lukens from the Atlanta Aviators. He has a total of 3 interceptions on the year. Look at forced fumbles. Who is rocking people and knocking the ball out of their hand? Right now, we have a few people that's tied with second. We have Samuel Davis from the Indianapolis Cyclones. Jason Benson in the ASFL with the Memphis Gators. Bo Bacon with the Grizzlies, New York Grizzlies. He's second, has 2 forced fumbles. Larry Williams for the Lancers also has 2. Al Gibson, who's actually not a star player from the Oklahoma City Lightning, has 2 forced fumbles. Alan Vosberg for the Michigan Panthers, he has 2 forced fumbles as well. The Spirits owner was looking at calling up Alan Vosberg. I suggested you do so to turn your defense around, but that's neither here or there. He is one of the leaders for the ASFL with 2 forced fumbles. From there, for the Richmond Renegades, we have Jaga Smith Sr. with 2 forced fumbles. Oscar Pride with the Tokyo Titans with 2 forced fumbles. Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds, he has 2 forced fumbles for the Chicago Ghosts. Zach Underwood for the Chicago Ghosts also has 2 forced fumbles, which is maybe the reason for their 5-game winning streak. From there, we have Nathan Milano for the Wolfpack. He has 2 forced fumbles. And finally, with the Honolulu Wyverns, we have Houston Tucker, defensive tackle, with 2 forced fumbles. Let's see, what else can we look at here? I think anybody's going to be worried about and punting. Yeah, we're going to stop it there. I appreciate everybody taking a look at this. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the season. Go Richmond Renegades. But right now, I would say the top two teams, well, obviously, the top two teams looking at the points is, or score, or not score, but record. We have the Chicago Ghosts and the Jackson Crabs. They're the team to beat right now. And the Titans is red hot. As you can see with their streaks, 7, 6, and 5. They're the teams to beat. But I got to rep my Renegades since I'm the owner. You guys take it easy. ASFL and NGFL will continue soon after this is over. Good day.